Welcome to another episode of Real Chill Conversations. I have Dominique in the building joining me tonight, and it's your girl, Brenna B. We are going to dive into the discussion of the incident that took place in our home state of Georgia. It made national news. I know my phone was ringing. People were calling and asking if we were anywhere near the incident and if our kids were affected and if they were impacted. So, for those of you that are joining us that are not sure what it is that we're talking about, we're referencing the school incident, the Pow Pow, that took place on Wednesday, September 5th, 2024, in Barrow County, Georgia, at the Appalachian High School. Now, this really incited a lot of fear. I don't know about you, but my phone was ringing. I had people calling and texting and asking, were we near the incident? Were we near the situation? And we flipped on the television and it was on every single news channel, news station, and all of that discussing the incident. The other thing that I want to get into just a little bit later is how it impacted your kids, if it did have any impact, and I'll share my experience with my children and how they were or were not impacted by it. But the concern that I have, and why I want to talk about this, is that it's becoming more and more common for there to be these incidents of school shootings that take place. Now, we are in DeKalb County. As of last year, metal detectors were installed in the middle school as well as the high school that the students have to pass through upon entering the school premises or the school property, as do parents and any visitors or guests that come into the school. Now, my question that I had, I wondered if Barrow County was one of the schools that went that route and had metal detectors installed in their entrances and in their building, because the person that did the incident, he was a 14-year-old student that attended the high school. He snuck in a rifle into the school to perform his act of violence, in which four people are no longer with us, and nine were injured and taken to local hospitals. Now, do you know if your school had the school that your kids attend? Do they have metal detectors installed?
Hey everyone. Absolutely not. Definitely that was one of my questions tonight because I feel like if we get these metal detectors inside of the schools, to me it will make a difference. Like we need to secure our children. I believe when I was back in living in Miami, and I went to school, we had metal detectors. So I definitely feel like they should be installed in every school.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I didn't get a clear understanding or a clear picture as to whether or not this school in Barrow County had metal detectors installed. But there are some schools in Georgia that are a little bit behind in technology, a little bit behind in their practices. My kids now have to participate in a program where they have to put their cell phone in a pouch that locks, and it has to remain in that pouch for the entire day, and then they unlock it at the end of the day.
And
Now,
I don't like that
I didn't
because
like
what if something happens,
I didn't like that. I didn't like that either, because there was an incident last year, when my son was in high school, and he texted us that the school was going into lockdown. So we didn't see anything on the news. We called the school and tried to find out what was going on, but he was like, "Yeah, we're ushering into a classroom, and the teacher told us to get under our desks." So he was actually texting us that, and so my husband and I were like, "Do we need to go up there? We're 5 minutes away. We'll head up there right now." But by the time we did that, he texted us that it was a false alarm. A teacher triggered something accidentally that put the school in lockdown. Now, what he has said is that he is able to text us and communicate with us by just saying, "Hey Siri, text mom. Hey Siri, text dad," which I was happy to hear that he was able to do that. But when the school had curriculum night and they had open house, we asked that question: What if? What if our children are in a situation in which they need to get in contact with us? And the response was, "Well, we have phones in the school, and the kids can call you. But hey, if there's chaos and commotion all going on throughout the school, how are 20 something, 30 something students all supposed to use the same phone to call their parents and let them know that there's a problem?"
Exactly. That is the same answer that I got from my kids' school. And this situation is so sad. I mean, like, they stated that he had just started school like 3 days prior to the shooting. I'm
Right.
sorry,
He
prior
was,
to the pow pow, because
yeah,
we couldn't say that word. I'm sorry.
right.
Um, it also looks like his father had bought him the weapon legally.
Yes. Mhm.
He also concealed the firearm with something to disguise it as a school project.
Yes.
So I think that's the way that he got it into the school. He was able to get on the bus
Yep.
and go to the school with it.
Yep. So yeah, according to the news report here, according to officials, the student name, the person that committed the crime, his name is Colt Gray. He had enrolled in the school 2 weeks before the shooting, and then the day of the shooting was only his second day on campus. Just his second day on campus.
I thought
Now,
they said third day because I know that he was skipping classes a lot.
yeah, I mean that's it, very well could be true. Different news sources, some might have a little bit different information. But what I'm reading here, it says that it was his second day on campus, and he had been enrolled in the school 2 weeks prior to the incident. Um,
So, how do you get past all of that? You're at home, you have a weapon that someone bought you, your
yes,
parent. So, I guess they're letting you get it anytime that you please. You are able to get it into a bus, and then you're able to get it into a school.
right, which doesn't make any sense. Another turn in the case is that Colt Gray's father, Colin Gray, he was arrested the next day on Thursday in connection to the.
Absolutely.
Yep, according to the GBI. So Colin Gray has been charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 2 counts of second degree unaliving, and 8 counts of cruelty to children, which he very well should be because, if anyone that is in favor of gun control, that is the owner of a weapon, and feels that they need to have one in their home to protect their home and to protect themselves, or to stay safe, should know about the safety and the fact that you should keep your weapons locked in a case that children don't have access to. So, anytime that there are weapons involved and it involves a children using a weapon, most of the time you will find that the adults in the home will also be charged for being negligent and allowing that child to have access to such weapon.
And let me tell y'all, nowadays here in Georgia, it's like that. It's really like that. Like
Yes.
anything that your child do, they're gonna hold you responsible
Mhm.
as a parent. So my advice, don't even play around. If you have weapons inside your home, put them up, lock them up, you know, don't let your children get a hold of them.
Right. The other bit of information I want to share is that Colt Gray, who was the one that performed this incident at the school, he had been previously investigated. The FBI stated that there was an investigation into Colt Gray. He was actually investigated in 2023 by the Jackson County Sheriff's Office after Gray allegedly posted online threats containing photos of guns in a threat to commit a school shooting, a school incident.
And that
The
was
time,
back on May 2023, right?
yeah, 2023. Yep, yep, less just a year ago. The time and location were unknown. He was 13 years old at the time. And also, his father had said that he thought he had hunting guns in the house. His son did not have unsupervised access to them, but the boy also denied making the online threats. Now, let's back up to the online threats. I want to tell you that both my kids came home from school and kept showing us these text messages they were getting, stating that there was going to be an incident that was going to take place in their school. And then after that, there was a document that looked like it was prepared on DeKalb County letterhead and said, in spite, of the incident, these are the list of schools that were targeted. And it was listing all the schools in DeKalb County, ones that my children attend, saying that there was going to be another incident. And it also stated that if you felt uncomfortable in the situation, you could keep your children at home. So my kids kept saying, people are saying they're not going to go to school tomorrow because there's going to be another incident on Friday or Monday. So we looked into it and we looked at where the document came from, and it seemed like somebody had posted it to their Instagram and then they did a Photoshop job of it, because later on in the evening we got emails from the school board stating that that letter was false, that they had looked into the claims, so had the GBI, so had the state police, and so had the FBI. So the FBI is all over this. And for those of you out there contemplating whether or not this is something that can happen and what kind of control do we have over this, the FBI, the GBI, and all police are alert, and they're very alert to online activity. So just like we can't say certain words because it'll trigger with YouTube and social media, there's certain keywords, phrases, posts, hashtags, and references that they're monitoring online. So they are monitoring this activity. However, I still am very much opposed to this whole idea of the kids having their phone in this pouch that they have to lock when they get in school in the morning, and they can unlock at the end of the day when school is over with. There's not that many phones in the classroom. What are they supposed to line up one by one, 20 and 30 students calling home to their parents? What if they can't get their parents at home? They got to call their parents at work. What if they're not at work? What if they're on their way to grandma's house? I mean, there's so many different scenarios. And for me, it really left me feeling unsettled. And I myself was opposed to it. They say that the purpose of it is to increase the time that the students are paying attention in class, and it's less of a distraction, because I know my kids would say during certain periods, their teachers would let them get on their phones if they had some free time or spare time or what have you. So I do think that it's very important for our children to be able to contact us in the event of an emergency, because if they're right in the thick of it, they're going to know about it, and they're going to be able to release that information to us faster than we're going to get a phone call or an email from someone at the school.
I mean, the fact that, um, with the phone situation, there was a student from his classroom that she looked before she opened the door, and she saw him taken. I guess he was in that classroom, and just so
Uh,
happens that they say that once you walk out the classroom, the door locks on its own. So she was going to do exactly what her teacher had said of opening the door for him, but she
Mhm.
saw him pull out a weapon,
Uh-huh.
and the teacher instructed her to open the door for him. That's when she backed back, and she said no because he has a weapon.
Right.
So thank God she didn't open the door and she went against what the teacher said. Like, you see, sometimes um students be trying to tell people things as well. So that about the cell phone, I think is overboard. I really
Yes.
do. I do feel like the kids are stuck on their cell phones a lot, but just to lock them up so they're not able to get in touch with parents in case of emergency. I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all. There's just a lot that is going behind this whole situation and this story.
And
Um,
look how she saved her classroom. You know what I'm saying? The
exactly,
student, the
exactly.
student, she was like, "No, I'm not opening the door because he has a weapon."
And
Um,
it's unfortunate that, we send our kids to school, in a state of fear and a state of wonder. We're putting our trust in the school system, in the teachers and the principals and all of that, everybody that is responsible for making the school run properly. We are entrusting them to keep our children safe. And if a student is telling you that, hey, something is wrong, or no, I'm not opening the door because I saw a weapon, then that needs to be listened to. They need not be so dismissive of these kids with what's going on. And that was another concern of mine is, if they're in a situation and again, they're trying to express that there's a problem, that they get overlooked and they get dismissed simply because they're children and they're not adults. So, regarding
it
the
was a problem here years ago,
yes,
and he gave his son a AR as a Christmas gift.
oh my gosh,
At
I,
what, 14?
I could never. Yes, yeah,
What
13.
is going through your mind when you do something like that? And you just had an incident back in May 2023
Right,
of the sheriff coming to your house and knocking on your door and saying, "Hey, have you been, making threats or, you know, talking about bullying and all this other stuff?" And if he was on the list of watch, where did it go when it was turned over to the FBI?
exactly,
So, yes, you
exactly.
could say, "Oh, yes, they're monitoring social media, they're seeing what you're posting and this, that, and the other." But where was security here? Like, where did the case go after that? And then after that, the fact that you bought him a AR for as a Christmas gift,
Right,
that is like, what's going on? What's
right.
going through your mind?
I don't know.
This
Um,
is an assault style weapon.
yep, it's an assault style weapon, semi-automatic AR-15.
This
Uh,
is not a hunting weapon.
no, not at all. This is like what they use in combat. Um, with the military. I mean, it's a military style weapon, and it should not be in the hands of a 14-year-old to be able to do whatever he did to it, to disguise it and mask it as a project. And then take it into the school and go on a rampage and go on a spree. Now, I have not seen anything that details a reasoning or rationale or any type of explanation as to why he targeted that school, and why he targeted that school, especially after only attending class for a few days.
There's no reasoning
But
behind that.
no, but it seems like he's had a troubled history with being in and out of various schools, being enrolled and then unenrolled. So it just altogether seems like he's got some issues and some challenges that need to be addressed or needed to be addressed, and they weren't. The parents were not paying attention to what was going on with their child. And then he then took it upon himself to do this to school. There is no way in the world I would let my child leave my house with an AR-15, is, stashed away in their backpack or hidden somewhere.
I'm sorry, but I have a totally different opinion on that, and I'll just keep it to myself for now. His mom also warned the school half an hour before everything went down.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly what that entails because they didn't say what was the warning or whatever, because they were like, she just said to check on him, but I don't know if
Mhm.
those were the exact words or not.
Oh, gotcha.
Um, there is a kid that attended Appalachian High School on 10/28/22. He made a video and he was showing what the kids were looking at during class in that video.
Okay.
And you could tell on the computers, it definitely looked like assault weapons.
Oh,
So 2 years later, that pow pow at that school happens.
that's crazy.
So maybe they need to go back and look at those videos
Yeah. Yeah. There that's real.
because that's very disturbing.
Mhm. Absolutely. In other news, the attorney that was assigned or hired to represent Colin Gray, he is withdrawn from the case. So he is no longer being represented. And, there's really, really rarely an occasion that an attorney decides not to take on a case or backs out on a case after they initially agree to represent them. So that tells me that there's much more to the story here than what we know, than the information that's been fed to us. As we've stated before, the media a lot of times controls the narrative, and they let us know what they want us to know, and we have to be the ones to do the digging and the investigating and the research and find out, hey, what's really going on? what's
Well, Brenna, you have to think about that. If you think about the whole case, it's like, was it calculated? Was
Right.
it something that was going to happen anyway? Because honestly, May 2023, again, sheriffs went to his dad's house,
Yep.
talked to him and everything. You could see it in the video. I think he was even drinking something, a little something, while he was talking to the sheriff.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I'm saying? So after that, and even if he did have a background, even if he had a troublesome background or saw his parents, argue and do other things around him, you still go buy him a AR for Christmas?
Right. Right. Well, and the lines to this story and the connecting of the dots, I mean, really runs rather deep. In another news report, it stated that the aunt of Colin Grant, she actually, I think you had said this earlier, that she had called 911 because she was afraid that her nephew was involved in the incident that took place at the high school. She was heard crying on the phone. The operator's trying to get her to calm down. And then she clarifies who all got a text message from Colt the morning of the incident. The woman just said that her sister, the suspect's, the shooter's mom, and his father also received the text. They called the school and told the counselor to get him immediately. And then that's when they saw that there had been an incident that had taken place at the school. So he did something. He reached out to his family and gave them some kind of message, and it terrified his family members. So they reached out to 911 and also reached out to the school.
But what did they say? Because that's what they haven't disclosed of what exactly they said. It
Ex-
makes a difference when you call somebody and tell them, "Hey, I think something may be wrong with my child," or "Hey, I think my child is gonna pow pow a school."
right.
It's like it's two different things.
Right. Right.
So
Call.
what was said? So were you really warning, or what was it about? Because I know for a fact that if this was a color child, it would have been totally different story. I'm sorry to
Of
say it, but I'm gonna say
course.
it.
No, I was gonna say it could only be a palm colored person that would be involved in this situation, that would still be alive, alive and standing, awaiting trial at this point. Had it been a person that is not of palm colored association, I don't know that they would still be with us because of the use of force and all the other unnecessary shootings of our people that have taken place over the years, when there's escalated situations. So the 911 operator reported, "Sir, did your girlfriend state that there was somebody with an active incident, or was this just a threat?" And the caller said, "Yes, yes, yes." And then, "No, no, no. Somebody was actively pow pow." The next roughly 7 minutes of the call were inaudible due to the emergency alert that was going off over the call. It eventually goes away, and you're able to clearly hear the conversation between the caller and the operator. The operator begins by talking to dispatch, asking if there were officers on the scene of Appalachia High School. And the 911 operator says, "We have a caller on the line that said he got a call from his girlfriend advising an active shooter at Appalachia High School." The 911 operator then says, "Do you guys have officers on site at the school?" Dispatch says, "Yes, ma'am, we do have officers on site. I cannot confirm or deny what is going on, though." The caller says, "Okay, so y'all got info that there is a shooter at the high school, right?" And dispatch says, "I have units on scene at the school. I cannot confirm or deny what is going on there, though." Why can't they confirm or deny what's happening? Is my question. Then the caller says, well, I was just saying, do y'all need information? She's texting me right now, telling me everything that's going on." Dispatch says, "Do you know where she's at?" And the caller says, "I just know she was hiding. I don't know where exactly she's at because the connection over there is bad. All I know is that she's hiding out, and she just told me she hears people yelling outside. So I don't know if that's officers in the building, or I don't know." The dispatcher once again tells the caller that she cannot confirm or deny anything that is going on. And then the caller says, "Okay, never mind. She said they are trying to evacuate. She said they are trying to evacuate then right now. I don't know." She's answering right now, maybe because they're being told to to put their phones down, and people are making them put their hands up right now. And then there was a second call. The second 911 call came from the mother of a student at Appalachia High School, who called after she said her daughter alerted her to the gunfire inside the school. 911 operator says, "Barrow County 911, what is the address of your emergency?" The caller states, "Appalachia High School. My daughter is calling me crying. Somebody went boom, 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 boom." The 911 operator says, "We have officers out there, okay?" And the caller says, "Please." The 911 operator says, "We've got people there, okay?" You can hear the panic in the mother's voice as she speaks to the operator. Barrow County Sheriff Judd Smith said that the incident lasted less than a minute. However, four people lost their lives in the incident, and nine others were hurt. Um, See, here's the situation where your child having their phone in their presence and not locked up in a pouch comes in handy. This is when
Matters.
this is when this is when there's all kinds of confusion between dispatch, and the right hand isn't talking to the left hand, and it's mass chaos because they're so overwhelmed with the situation that's going on. But here is this girl communicating to her mom, "Hey, something is going on." You can't do that. There's not going to be enough time to unlock that damn pouch for your child to be able to call you and tell you that there's a problem at the school. And like I said 3 times before already tonight, there are not enough phones in the classroom for each student to be able to reach out to their parent or family member or relative and let them know that there's a problem at the school and that they might be in danger. And with that, reading further, The GBI said deputies with the Barrow County Sheriff's Office responded minutes after reports of an active incident at 10:20 a.m. and encountered the suspect, who immediately surrendered to the officers and was then taken into custody without incident. The timeline has further come into focus since the incident, as the mother of the accused um, person has spoken with news outlets about how she contacted the school roughly half an hour before the incident began to warn that her son was having an extreme emergency. According to the Associated Press reporting, a student previously said she saw Colt Gray briefly in her second period algebra class, where she sat next to him, but he left the room. The GBI now says on its FAQ page that Colt Gray asked a teacher if he could go to the front office to speak with him, but instead went to the restroom and hid from teachers. Later, he took out his weapon and he began firing. Um, yeah,
This is this is horrible that after so many school shootings, still nothing has been done to pretty much secure the children, the staff, everyone that's inside the school. Not just with school shootings of someone actually, going to the school and just doing unaliving other people, but also kids looking for violence within each other. Um, it's just put the metal detectors in every school.
yeah. I think that that's a given. And at this point, and where we are in the state of our nation and in the state of our actual state, in the state of Georgia, there should not be a school in the state of Georgia that does not have metal detectors installed for the students to walk through, for any guests or visitors to walk through, because you never know, what somebody's plans are, what somebody has in mind, but really what really puzzles me and just has me scratching my head is, why is it students? Why is it these young students making the decision to have these incidents take place at their school? Are they victims of bullying, or did people make fun of them? Do they not have, a good social circle? Are they missing friends? Is it problems at home? Are their parents not getting along? Are they in the middle of a nasty custody battle between mom and dad, and they have to shuffle back and forth from one school to the next and are moved around a lot? I mean, there's no valid reason for anyone.
That I
Any
think that's a different podcast, yeah,
Yeah,
because it definitely have to be looked into of maybe separation into programs or a different school or uh, something. You know, I hate to divide things up, but if someone is not in the right state and that's what you determine, I feel that other resources should be looked into, like maybe school from home or you know other resources, counseling, other things that can help with that,
right.
instead of just putting them inside of a population of other kids, that I don't know, that's just my personal opinion. I don't know. I'm not a licensed professional, but that's like a whole different rabbit hole there that has to be discovered and talked about.
Absolutely. So I wanted to ask you this question. Um, are you for gun control or are you against gun control?
Hey, gun control, I don't like the guns don't go off by themselves unless it's
Right.
just a whack gun and you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But I feel like it's the people behind them.
Hmm.
Like, no child, first of all, no child should be behind them. I don't care what they say.
Right.
To me, you have to be a legal, a certain age to be able to get one.
Right.
Yes, I do, definitely um not against of people having them that are sane, not people
Yes.
that had issues and mental issues and stuff like that. But if it's to protect yourself, of course, because there are a lot of people out here who have them, and it's out, they get them in
Right.
legally, and they end up might trying to do something to you.
Yeah.
So you have the right to protect yourself. But in no shape, way, or form, I feel like any kid should own a weapon.
Right. Absolutely.
They're not even, mature enough to, because I was listening to his dad of him saying, oh, he knows, like he know about weapons and I taught him this. Obviously,
Right.
somewhere it went wrong where now he goes to a school and pow pow, unalive people.
Unalive.
So that's definitely not okay. That statement is like, I acted like, I was like, why would he even say that? He's 14.
Right. Exactly.
This
Exactly.
is a very sad situation, y'all. Is it makes me so upset because they are real human beings who you know, lives were lost. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is, and I cannot believe that after so long and so many times of it happening, it's happening now. It's still happening.
Right. Right.
There has not been no change, no
There
change
hasn't.
at all.
And that's the part that's extremely frightening, is that there hasn't been any change, and it seems like more and more every single year we are hearing about, incidents that are taking place at schools. And I think it's
And
hearing
it's so strange that it happens more during election year.
Yes. Yes, I'm glad you said that, because that was going to be one of my points tonight, is that there seems to be a correlation between an increase in gun violence and violence taking place in schools, violence in general, but violence taking place in school when there is an election year. And I always thought that that was an odd connection, and never really thought about putting two and two together. But hey, that's what's happening. That is absolutely what's happening. Whether it's a coincidence or it's just happenstance, it is definitely something that's happening.
Definitely something to look into.
Yeah, I think that, for the most part, I think that, most people, when they are purchasing a weapon for their protection, number one, it's not an AR-15. It is a
Exactly.
it's a hand weapon, something that can, be used for protection, protecting the household, protecting yourself if you're out by yourself or something like that. So that's not what's on the mind of most people. And I think most people are reasonable enough to understand that it's to be used only for protection. They understand that, especially if they have children in the house, you can't just leave it around, leave it lying underneath the sofa, on the dining room table, on the kitchen counter, underneath your pillow. It needs to be locked in a safe, completely away from access, so that your children can't get into it. But when children, or students are showing signs of distress, they're showing signs of acting out and showing signs of, making threats because they're having problems at school and they're acting out towards classmates, then that's
Why would you buy them
exactly why would you
a weapon
why
for
would that
Christmas?
why would you do that? So that father deserves to be arrested because he most certainly contributed to the situation, even though he didn't pull the trigger, he didn't do the incident himself. He contributed to the delinquency of a minor by
And it's just not going to be this situation. I'm telling y'all now, right now in Georgia, they're starting to lock parents up
yep,
for anything that their child do.
absolutely, for
So
anything.
stay
Any
tuned because you're going to see that more.
Yep, definitely more. What do you think is an adequate punishment for a situation like this? And do you think that this guy should be tried as an adult?
I I believe when it comes to the justice system, there are some cracks and holes in it. But in this
Yeah,
case, yeah, I do feel like that's right.
yeah, absolutely. I agree with you on that. He committed the act of an adult. He must have thought he was an adult that day when he got up and he went to school and he made the
And
decision
that's what I'm saying.
to
If
do
you don't want your child to be an adult, do not give them a AR at 14 years old.
right. Exactly.
Do not give them a weapon at 14 years old. If you don't want your child to be trial as an adult, do not do things that adult, you know, do have,
Right. Absolutely. Uh,
because then you're putting them in that position.
right.
They have access to it, and now they're trying to be an adult. Oh, I'm gonna,
Mhm.
and this is not an adult thing, but I'm just saying, adults should be the only ones access to a weapon. Adults that are sane, not people that have issues and mental issues or problems or something like that, because of course you just don't want to go around here just pow pow everything you see.
Right.
So yeah, if you are treating your child as an adult and you're allowing them to have access to things as an adult, then yeah,
Yeah.
they should be trialed as an adult.
So, I want to share this with regards to gun violence. We're talking about the school incidents, but also gun violence in general because we are in a heightened state of we are always hearing something in the news about shootings. Someone was murdered, someone was unalived, someone's life was taken from them. It's happening way too often. I mean, every week, there's someone that is losing their life by hands of a weapon. And as of 2024, where we are right now, and as of September 2024, there have been multiple mass incidents, pow pow incidents, leading to people losing their lives. And that number is increasing and it is growing. And they say that more than 600 people are estimated to pass away every day from gun violence, with two-thirds of weapon-related deaths. This does include suicides, but it is something.
Damn, it sounds like people trying to get excited.
Yeah, it is definitely on the rise. It is definitely on the rise.
Too much going on.
And homicides, people losing their lives due to homicides with the use of a weapon, it's up 71%. That's a lot.
That's too much.
That's a lot. That is
I have heard of so many shootings this year. Is terrible.
I know you were telling me about some of them. I mean, you've told me about all of them, but just the fact that there was even one that you had to discuss, that was one too many. But there has been multiple ones, that have impacted your family and members of your family. And I mean, I just don't understand how people are able to pick up the pieces and carry on. I mean, I guess you don't have any choice but to do that, but it's got to weigh on you. It's got to weigh on family members to have to experience that and go through losing loved ones through gun violence.
Absolutely.
Well,
Especially, when you just have people going around just unaliving for just for fun.
and it's not fun by any shame for or fashion. It's not fun. It's heartbreaking. It's a tragedy.
And it's not fun, but to something that's thinking that it's gonna satisfy them when it's really not. It's
Exactly.
like you're throwing your own life away.
Mm-hmm.
You're ending another life. You're ending your own life.
Absolutely.
All these senseless killings is just too much. It's definitely too much.
Yeah. Since 1999, there have been 417 school pow pow incidents. Since 1999, 417.
Mm,
That's terrible.
very.
And in 2022, there were 46 pow pow incidents, and that was the most in any year since 1999. So let's not keep 2024 in the mix with gun violence and school shootings. Let's keep ourselves under control. Let's be safe with our weapons. If we do happen to have weapons, let's make sure that they're not in the reach of any students or children that can get their hands on them. Let's be able to act and respond swiftly and quickly, and I say we need to get rid of these damn pouches so our kids can let us know that they're in trouble at any given moment. We can't wait for them to get the magnet out to unlock the phones. We can't wait till the end of the day. And like I've said many times on this episode, there's just not enough phones to go around for all the students in the class to be able to call home. I mean, by the time you're supposed to get into lockdown protocol, you're not even allowed to use the phone because you're having to get under a desk and you go down where they tell you. So I think that's something that needs to be re-examined. That's a conversation that needs to be had. I think more and more people need to contact their schools and let them know that their students having their phone. While I understand some teachers and principals feel that the kids having their phones is a distraction, it can also save some lives. So I think that saving a life and being able to stay safe outweighs the 5 or 10 minutes extra you say kids can be distracted by using your phones. And I think they need to reconsider that, and I hope that they do. So that was my topic that I wanted to discuss and I wanted to talk about today because, as I said, when we learned about this incident, we were getting phone calls from family members and friends and asking if it happened in an area near us. Barrow County, the city is actually in Winder, Georgia. It's about an hour north of Atlanta, so they're about an hour away from us. And it to me that doesn't make sense why a school that's only an hour north of Atlanta doesn't have metal detectors in their schools, but that's another story for another day. Ultimately, I just think that we need to be diligent and vigilant, and stand up for our kids. With this whole situation and be supportive of them. And like I said, my kids were my older one, my high school student, he didn't think that the message that was being circulated around was real. He said it looked like a fake Instagram post and the letterhead was fake. But my middle schooler, oh girl, he was petrified. He was like, I really do not want to go to school tomorrow and Monday. I really do not want to go to school. I'd rather stay home and do extra homework
That's what happened to my daughter, the same thing. Like
or
she
do
got
chores.
a she had a the same thing. She had a list and her school was listed on there too. But I feel like if your child is, gets that, I allowed her, to make her own decision at that point because sometimes kids just feel uneasy
Right.
and it's okay.
Right. Yeah, and we just have to be supportive, of them through that. And their concern is valid. He was like, I don't want to lose my life. I'm afraid to go to school and I don't want to lose my life. How do you argue with that?
Right.
I'm not going to send you straight into the fire. So, as parents, you got to do what you got to do to protect your children. And even if your children are struggling and they're having problems and they make decisions like this person made a decision to go and commit this horrendous act of violence, you've got to do the right thing. And sometimes the right thing means, turning in your own child or getting your child the help that they need, so that they're not committing these violent acts against others. So that's it for me. I don't have any other statements to close out for this episode. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
Very serious situation that needs to be addressed quickly in a hurry. Um, I can't imagine any more parents losing their children to, school pow pows. There is going to be a limit to this, and I believe, it will explode. So it's best to go ahead and address it and get it under control where our children can be safe
Mm-hmm.
and the staff members at the school can be safe as well.
Right, right. And I will say this for those of you that are tuned in to the podcast, if you're watching live or if you go back and you rewatch it on YouTube, I am sorry. I was having technical difficulties. For some reason, my avatar, my picture is not showing on this video. It is a white circle, as you said, Dominique. I'm looking at it. I see your beautiful face, but I just look like a white dot that with
I try to
that
tell her, y'all.
that blinks. So I apologize. It's showing on my end, but as I'm looking at the stream on another device, my photo is not there. So I apologize in advance for that. I'm seeing it in one place, but I'm not seeing it on the actual stream. So I wasn't trying to disappear. I wasn't trying to avoid y'all. It was a glitch in the matrix on my part, but I'll make sure that that's taken care of. I'll probably actually show my face next week when we do our podcast. Do you have a topic for us already for next week? Are you still working on it?
I'm still working on it. I've been moving, y'all, so I have a lot of things that I've been doing.
Oh, yes. And speaking,
So,
I just wanted to say that we had a brief hiatus because both Dominique and I had a lot of different things that were going on that it just wasn't conducive for us to be able to host the podcast in a nice, quiet area without distraction and to be uninterrupted. So we needed to take a break in order to kind of get through what we needed to get through. We're good to go for now. We're all set, systems go. We are back and we will see you again next Sunday. Thank you so much for joining us. If you have anything that you'd like to add, please post it in the comments and we will respond and get back to you. We do enjoy engaging in conversations in the Facebook group. And I'm really curious to hear some of your thoughts, how you guys feel about, these incidents that are taking places in schools. What's your take on weapons, on gun violence? And if you also are a parent and your kids have to put their phones in those stupid pouches, how do you feel about that? I really want to know. So post it in the comments so we can talk about it some more. And that's it. We will see you next week. You guys have a good night.
That's it. That's all. Good night.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye.